For thousands of years, humanity has believed one story, that Adam was the first man on Earth. But what if that isn't the whole truth? Archaeologists have discovered human fossils nearly 300,000 years old. So the question is, who were the people living on Earth before the story of Eden began? Before Eden, the wind howled across a vast prehistoric valley, long before the stories of gardens, serpents, and forbidden fruit were ever told. Mountains towered like ancient guardians over the earth. Rivers carved their way through stone, and forests stretched endlessly under a sky untouched by cities, towers, or temples. But the earth was not empty. Long before the name Adam would be whispered in sacred texts, humans already walked the world. Not the humans of modern cities, not the farmers of ancient kingdoms, but people, real people. Archaeologists in the modern world would later discover their bones buried beneath layers of earth, fossils tens of thousands of years old, remains of ancient humans that science would eventually call Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and other early relatives. Some fossils would be dated to nearly 300,000 years ago, thousands upon thousands of generations before the earliest written religious texts ever appeared. But no one alive during those ages knew any of that. They simply lived. The first people of the forgotten age. In a wide valley near a great river, a tribe gathered around a crackling fire. The flames danced against their faces as the night sky glittered above them. Their language was simple but expressive. Short sounds, gestures, and rhythms of speech passed from elders to children. A hunter named Caro sharpened his stone spear while watching the dark forest beyond the firelight. Danger lived in those trees. Saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, wolves larger than any seen today. Life was harsh, but these people survived. They crafted tools from stone. They painted animals on cave walls. They buried their dead with care. Modern scientists would eventually find evidence of these behaviors in real archaeological sites around the world. Proof that ancient humans possessed intelligence, culture, and emotion long before recorded history. But Caro did not know he was part of something historians would one day study. To him, this world had always existed, and humans had always been in it. The evidence beneath the earth. Fast forward tens of thousands of years. In the deserts of Africa, scientists dig carefully into ancient soil layers. Brushes sweep dust away from fragile bones. A skull emerges. It is unmistakably human. Carbon dating later reveals its age. Nearly 200,000 years old. Similar discoveries appear across continents. Human remains in Ethiopia, tools in Kenya, cave paintings in France, burial sites in Israel. Every discovery points to the same truth. Human beings existed long before the earliest civilizations, long before writing, long before cities, and long before the earliest copies of religious texts were recorded. These discoveries led some thinkers throughout history to ask a controversial question. What if the story of Adam was not about the first biological human? What if it describes something else? The garden. According to ancient tradition, Adam lived in a place called Eden, not a chaotic wilderness, but a protected garden, a place where rivers flowed and food was abundant, a place separated from the harsh world outside. Some scholars throughout history proposed an unusual idea. What if Adam was the first human chosen for a special purpose, rather than the first human who ever existed? This idea became known as the pre-Adamite theory. It appeared in writings as far back as the 17th century when scholars tried to reconcile scientific discoveries with ancient texts. They noticed something interesting in the early chapters of Genesis. After Adam and Eve leave the garden, the story describes other people already existing. Cities are built. Families multiply rapidly. Cain fears being killed by others. These details led some readers to wonder, where did those other people come from? Were there already humans living outside Eden? Outside the garden. Imagine the moment Adam stepped beyond the garden. The world outside would not have been empty. It would have been wild. Forests stretching beyond the horizon. Tribes of humans hunting across plains. Small communities living along rivers. People who had never heard the name Adam. People who had lived on earth for thousands of years. To them, Adam would have seemed strange, different. someone carrying a story of a place they had never seen, a mysterious garden created by God, a place unlike the brutal world they knew. The long human story. Modern science tells us something astonishing. Human history is far older than recorded civilization. Cities like ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt appeared only around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. But humans had already existed for hundreds of thousands of years. During that vast span of time, people migrated across continents. They crossed deserts. They sailed across oceans. They survived ice ages. They learned to control fire. They created art and rituals. All of this happened long before the first written stories, which means humanity's earliest chapters were never recorded in books. They are written only in stone tools, fossils, and ancient bones buried beneath the earth. Adam's role. In many interpretations, Adam represents something symbolic. The beginning of moral awareness, the moment humans became conscious of good and evil. The moment humanity's relationship with God changed. Instead of describing the biological origin of humans, the story may describe a spiritual turning point. A moment when one man, and perhaps one family, was given responsibility, knowledge, or covenant. If that idea were true, Adam would not have been the first human to walk the earth, but he would have been the first to carry a unique role in the story of human history. The mystery remains today. Scientists continue to study ancient fossils. Every discovery adds another piece to the puzzle. We know that humans existed for hundreds of thousands of years. We know that ancient people had culture, emotions, and intelligence. But the deeper philosophical questions remain open. Where did human consciousness come from? Why did spiritual beliefs appear in every ancient culture? Why do humans seek meaning beyond survival? These questions sit at the intersection of science, history, and faith, and they may never have simple answers. A world before the story imagined, standing on a hill 100,000 years ago. The sun rises over a world untouched by modern civilization. No cities, no nations, no borders, only forests, rivers, animals, and small groups of humans struggling to survive. The earth was already ancient then. Mountains had risen and eroded. Rivers had shifted their paths. Generations of humans had already lived and died. And somewhere in the distant future, stories would emerge about a garden, a man named Adam, and the beginning of something greater. But long before that story was ever told, humanity had already begun. The final question: was Adam the first human? Science cannot confirm that. Religion interprets the story in many ways. Some see Adam as the literal first man, others see the story as symbolic or spiritual, and some believe the world may have contained humans both inside and outside the garden. What is certain is this: human history stretches far deeper into the past than anyone once imagined. And beneath our feet, hidden in the earth, are the remains of people who lived long before the first stories were ever written. They hunted, they loved, they feared, they dreamed beneath the same stars we see today. Forgotten by name, but not by history, because long before the story of Eden, humanity was already walking the earth.